the conversation. Tell me what you think about the issues of the world. What kind of spice you wanna be? Tell me where you wanna travel. Do you believe in luxury? What's your hidden passion? What makes you so unique? Conversations with Nicole. Conversations with Nicole.
Greetings, Nicole Everett here with Conversations with Nicole, and today we're at Soul Vegetarian and we're talking about total wellness. My very special guest is Dr. Michelle Gamble. Welcome, Michelle. Dr. Michelle.
Thank you.
Pleasure to have you. So you are a naturologist and you specialize in integrative wellness, correct?
Exactly.
So tell us more about what naturology is.
Okay. Well, naturology is the study of how to use natural modalities to help people to heal mentally, emotionally, physically, and spiritually. And the beauty of naturology is that it is based on ancient wisdom. And so I'm not sure how familiar your audience is with the term Sankofa, but the term Sankofa is actually a con word that talks about going back to the wisdom of the past in order to move forward in a prosperous manner. And so with Sankofa, what we do is integrate that wisdom that comes from nature, that wisdom of things as ancient as colon hydrotherapy, which people think is a newfangled thing, things like homeopathy, things like diet and nutrition. Hippocrates himself said, let food be your medicine and medicine be your food. So all of these ancient modalities that are coming from very ancient traditions that are thousands and thousands of years old. So that's the naturology part. And the reason why we say that this is integrative wellness is because we're addressing the root cause of disease patterns, not only by utilizing wisdom from the past, but also the beauty of modern technology and the research that is coming out, talking about nutrigenomics and talking about epigenetics, the effect that genetics have on our health and wellness, and looking at things such as blood chemistry panels that people get every day in their lab reports with their doctors, and yet they have no clue of the wealth of knowledge that they can find in those types of reports.
Okay. Well, you and I were talking in a previous conversations about ways that folks can kind of take back their health and what type of assessments can be done to kind of find out where you are and see where you need to go from there. So let's kind of talk about that. Now that is considered what?
We can look at assessments in terms of being objective and subjective. So what I mean by that is that we can look at scientific measures of assessments such as blood chemistry panels, such as looking at what we call your CMP, your comprehensive metabolic profile, looking at your A1C, looking at your lipid profile, looking at your thyroid and things of that nature.
So doing a lab assessment, right?
That's one type of assessment, yes, an objective type of assessment. In addition to that type of assessment, we can do more subjective types of assessments. So what I talk to people about things like food, mood, poop journals, you know, and I want to know about your poop. I want to know the size of your poop, the color of your poop, the, you know, how frequently are you having bowel movements. You can even talk about your mood. How do you feel when you eat certain foods? How do you feel when the weather is a certain way? All of these give us valuable clues as to what is going on within your being, not only physically, but also mentally, emotionally, and spiritually.
Okay. So a food assessment, a lab assessment, and also there's something related to your how you were raised, your upbringing, your
There's what we call the medical history.
Okay.
And for me, I go a lot more in depth in terms of doing what I call mapping to the living matrix. So I talk to people going as far back as to the day that they were born. I find out from them when they were born, was it a C-section or was it a vaginal birth? All of that has an effect on what we know today as the microbiome. I talk to them about what was the condition of mom, because based on what mom's condition was, that type of stress could have impacted the child's development. We talk about all of the things that occurred from birth until this moment that they are sitting in front of me or on the phone with me, because every single event can be interpreted as either what we call a trigger that induces some type of disease state or a mediator, or something that is inherent. It can be something as far-reaching as whether or not their grandparents had certain disease states.
Okay, we're going to take a break right here, but when we come back, we're going to finish up talking about the types of assessments that can be done.
Okay.
All right.
No problem.
Stay tuned for more conversations.
This portion of Conversations with Nicole is sponsored by Tallahassee Memorial Healthcare.
Welcome back to Conversations with Nicole. If you're just joining us, we're here at Soul Vegetarian, and we're talking total wellness with my guest, Dr. Michelle Gamble. So, Dr. Gamble, before the break, we were talking about some assessments that can be done to kind of determine where people are, where they should possibly go. So let's talk about some other strategies as it relates to total wellness.
Well, some of the strategies that we talk to people about is, again, looking at health from a holistic perspective. And when we talk about holistic perspective, we're talking about looking at the whole person. So not only the physiology, but also the mental, emotional, and spiritual aspects of a person. And that is integrated very well into what we call the 5 heart hacks, which is an approach that we utilize primarily with our program dealing with parents who have children with autism, ADD, ADHD, and things of that nature.
Okay.
And so the first hack is recognizing that you are not your dis-ease. You are not your dysfunction. You are not your label. You are not your diagnosis. So we talk about identifying the gifts of an individual, identifying their purpose, their sense of being, their sense of what makes their heart sing, what brings them to life. And you know, when we deal with parents, we help them to shift away from that label of autism or ADD, or you know, there's something wrong with your kid, and look at really what is the soul of a child. And what's the soul of the parent? So that's the first strategy. The second thing is looking at optimizing nutrition. And when we talk about nutrition, we're also including hydration, because what people don't realize is that most of us are chronically dehydrated. And so something as simple as drinking more water can alleviate so many problems. It's absolutely ridiculous. You know, people are looking for that magic pill, that magic potion, the magic surgery, the magic whatever it is. And sometimes when I sit down with them and I say something as simple as drink more water, they're like, really? That's it?
That's it.
And yeah, that's it. Drink some more water. Can we just start there?
Right.
You know? And then when I say optimizing nutrition, I'm sure many of us have heard, you know, the notion of when you go into the grocery store, you shop on the sides, not in between. So you look at the foods that are closest to nature. Look at the foods that are in their raw and whole forms. Look at whole grains, whole legumes, beans, whole vegetables, bright, vibrant, anything that is bright and vibrant. That color tells you that this is life.
So, Dr. Michelle, what are some other strategies that folks can utilize for total wellness?
Some other strategies, something that many people undervalue is stress. You know, there's a saying, stress can kill you, but everybody kind of writes it off like, whatever. And we live with such a high tolerance of stress, and we don't recognize the effect that it has on our physiology. So not just our mental, emotional state, but our actual physiology. Another strategy that we look at in terms of, in addition to helping people to identify and manage their stress, is to have the concept of lab tests, not best guess. A lot of time when we go somewhere, we're just kind of shooting in the dark, you know, like, oh, let's try this, let's try that, let's look at this vitamin. You know, we do go to Dr. Google, and we think that we are afflicted with every single major disease that is out there. We self-diagnose, and we go to the vitamin shop, and we buy everything that we can fit into our purse. And interestingly enough, a lot of them are taking supplements that they don't even remember why they started taking them in the first place.
Gotcha.
And they don't realize that that can actually be part of the problem and not part of the solution. So we tell people to look at lab work. So for instance, when I look at blood glucose levels, and everybody gets a blood glucose test, you know, it's a fasting blood glucose, and people say, oh yes, my blood glucose is 110, and the doctor says I'm fine, and I'm looking like, oh no, you're not. that? Because you are on the way to what we call diabetes. So I'm not waiting for somebody to hit that magic number of 130. I'm looking for the pattern, I'm looking for the trend, and I'm looking at it in the context of, well, you know, your mom has diabetes and your brother has diabetes.
So hereditary.
Yeah, so
Right.
you know, we're not just taking things out of context, we're looking at it from a functional perspective of wanting the blood glucose, the fasting blood glucose, to be between 80 and 95, as opposed to something that is based on what we call the normal ranges.
Okay.
That's based on sick people.
So before we close out, I want to talk a little bit about you. Tell me what brought you to Tallahassee.
What brought me to Tallahassee was looking for a safe place to raise my children. I have 5 beautiful children.
Okay.
And I was looking for a change from where we were coming from in terms of Waycross, Georgia.
Gotcha.
And I just love the Tallahassee environment, that eclectic combination of the old and the new. So I look at those huge old magnolias combined with our brilliant capital, and it's just beautiful. It's everything that Sankofa represents.
Sounds like that's what keeps you here too.
Definitely.
And if you could describe yourself as a healing agent, what would you be?
A luminary.
A luminary.
Someone who sheds light on the truth.
All right. Well, very good. Well, thank you for spending time with us today.
Thank you for inviting me.
And we'll have to have you come back on the show another time.
Always enjoyable. Always enjoyable. Thank you.
Stay tuned for more conversations.
When I first graduated, I started working with little kids, and the traditional therapies I learned about in school just were not working. They did not want to talk. They or could not talk.
On today's medical moment, we are talking about gynecologic oncology with Dr. Arvind Bakhru with Tallahassee Memorial Healthcare. Welcome, Dr. Bakhru.
Thank you.
So you have been involved with, you are OBGYN, and you started the Gynecologic Oncology program here at TMH, correct?
That's right. Yeah, we opened up here at TMH Cancer Center almost 2 years ago, and I am an OBGYN by training that did additional training in gynecologic oncology, and we're happy to have the program open here and running and growing as well.
Okay, so for those of us who might not know, what is gynecologic oncology?
Well, we help women who have had a cancer or a precancer of the gynecologic tract. That means any of the reproductive organs. So people who have ovarian masses or ovarian cancers, uterine cancers or precancers, vulvar cancers, vaginal cancers, and even cervical dysplasia or cancers related to things such as HPV or changes in the vulvar or cervical area. And we help women and their families get through what can often be a hard diagnosis or something that may be a little bit uncomfortable to talk about.
Now, some of the cancers that women face from gynecologic oncology are silent. They may not know that they exist. So can you talk to us about some of the cancers that may kind of go under the radar?
Yeah, sure. A lot of our cancers are hard to figure out, or they may seem kind of normal to a lot of people. And it could be sort of silent symptoms such as abdominal bloating or pain or a little bit of extra bleeding or just not quite feeling right in the pelvic area or even in the upper abdomen. And so a lot of our cancers are a little bit harder to figure out, and it can sometimes lead to a little bit of a delay in finding out what's going on or being able to treat it. And the classic example of that is ovarian cancer. Ovarian cancer is kind of known as the silent killer because it can spread silently. People who have either cysts or masses on their ovaries don't often know that they're there,
Right.
because they free float in the abdomen. And when the ovaries free float, they don't generally push on anything or cause any pain until they get big enough or have spread to cause other problems.
I see.
And that's part of the challenge with ovarian cancer in particular.
Okay. So what would you tell women who, either have not had their physical exam or pap smear, what advice would you give them?
Well, definitely we recommend knowing your body as the most important thing. Just having a good understanding of what's normal for you. And when things are outside of that normal range, to kind of identify that and seek help. We always suggest an annual exam because it's a good time to just check in and get a pap smear or talk about symptoms that you might be having. And so those are really important things to not let go.
Right.
Even though it may seem kind of routine, it's a good chance to reflect on what's normal for you. And so that annual exam is really important.
All right. What's the best thing about what you do?
It's really helping people get to cure. That's the part that I love the most. That we can take somebody who has a really big problem, whether it's benign or cancerous, and fix that and get people to a better quality of life, or get them to a cure, ideally, where we can fight back against that cancer and improve their quality of life significantly. And we really try and focus on the whole patient too, not just on that particular area that might be wrong, because we really want to try and improve their overall health at the same time. And that's, I think, what makes the patient relationship so special here in our center.
Wonderful. That's
Yeah.
excellent. I love it. Total wellness.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for your time today.
No problem, anytime. Thank you.
Stay tuned for more conversations. Welcome back to Conversations with Nicole. We're talking total wellness today here at Soul Vegetarian, and my special guest is Rachel Scharlepp with Playbig Therapy. Welcome, Rachel.
Thank you.
So you are a licensed clinical social worker, and you deal in play.
Yeah.
And why is
That I
play
do.
important for total wellness?
Oh, play is so important. Play really sets the foundation for many of the things we learn to do, cognitively, socially, physically, intellectually. It lets us try on things, explore things, practice, master. Play is vital to children's development across the globe.
Wow. Now, Playbig Therapy has been here how long?
Playbig, as it is now, we've been around for about 2 years.
Okay. And how did you get involved with play as a therapy or alternative form of, treatment for folks?
When I first graduated, I started working with little kids, and the traditional therapies I learned about in school just were not working. They did not want to talk. They or could not talk, to be honest. And so I had to start thinking outside of the box, how to get into their world instead of bring them into mine. And I found a modality called play therapy, and I started reading the research, and it just fit me perfectly in how I believe children are, how they develop, how I think my role in their life can be, and what can help them.
That's interesting because, I think to myself, play is something that, should be normal and, something that I know I grew up doing. But now it doesn't seem like children play as much as they used to.
No, their play has changed a lot. A lot of the play I did as a kid, playing outside, climbing trees, riding bike, falling, fishing, just being out trying stuff, kids do not do anymore. They do a lot of stationary, in front of a screen type of play, a lot of virtual play, which has some merit, but at a big cost. And so play has changed, and the value in play, it seems almost like a leisure activity instead of an important piece of everyday life for a child.
Wow. That's something, thinking about the way play has changed and the effects that has on children. What are you seeing in terms of their social skills?
Oh, they have plummeted. Children don't know how to make friends, yet the desire to stay social is there. And so if you want to be social and you don't know how, you take a hit with loneliness or isolation or feeling a part of. And so that has taken a hit. How they make friends, what they do with their friends. The whole social dance has changed.
Okay. And what type of children are you servicing at Playbig?
Yeah, Playbig treats all children, 0 to 18,
Okay.
for all different reasons. The commonality is that the children that come to us need a team around them. This saying, it takes a village, this for these children is paramount. It
Okay.
really, truly takes a village. And so we have physical therapy, occupational, speech and language, and then behavioral health. We have play therapists and art therapists. And then we have targeted case managers to help with the environmental stressors.
Okay.
So we all surround that family and that child, and we do what it takes for as long as it takes.
All right. Sounds great. We're going to take a little break here, but when we come back, we're going to talk more about Playbig and a little bit about you.
Okay.
All right. Stay tuned for more conversations. Welcome back to Conversations with Nicole. If you're just joining us, we are talking total wellness here at Soul Vegetarian with my very special guest, Rachel Scharlepp with Playbig Therapy. So Rachel, before the break, we were talking about the type of children that come and utilize your services. Can you give us some tips on the type of play that children can take place in that will help with their cognitive and learning skills?
Yeah, and surprisingly, it's good old-fashioned, just regular play. What I tell parents is that there's a place for learning and teaching, and then there's a place for playing. And so, you know, it's good to have them learn colors and to count and to do all that, like cognitive stuff. But it's really important and special for a child, for their parent to join their world of play and just join in where the child is at their pace with their interests and in the way they want to do it. And that child will feel so understood and important that they'll do all the learning they need to do later.
Okay, so does outside play versus inside play, you know, make a difference, or does it not really matter?
They're all important.
Okay.
Movement is really important, which is often easier to do outside.
Okay.
But you know, good old-fashioned dress up and playing store and playing school, or doll houses, all of those toys I grew up with, and I think you grew up with.
What about board games?
Board games are good. They teach really valuable, like turn taking, how to win, how to lose, how not to cheat, even when you really badly want to change the rules. And so those are valuable too. And you know, at some age, like 7, 8, that becomes actually very important.
Okay.
Where children do need to learn how to do that stuff. It's hard to lose, and it's hard to win and not be a smarty pants about it.
Right.
And so board games really help with that.
Okay, good deal. So let's talk a little bit about you.
Okay.
You have been in Tallahassee how long?
About 12 years
Okay.
now.
And what brought you here?
Me and my husband need an adventure.
Okay.
We're from a small town in Minnesota and needed out. And
Okay.
so here we are.
All right, very good. Well, what keeps you here?
We have grown to just adore this town. We love outdoors, and there's a lot of trail systems and parks. We love the community, but also the amenities. And now we have a little baby, and so now we're learning to love the schools and
Nice.
all the family things
That's great. That's
Tallahassee
great.
has to offer.
Yeah, it
So-
does have a lot to offer.
Yeah.
Yeah, good deal. So what do you all have coming up on the horizon at Playbig?
We have a lot right now. Is kind of stressful time for us. We're opening our second location in Mariana to serve the rest of the Panhandle. And in Tallahassee, we have about 5,000 square feet, and Mariana is more than double at 11.
Oh, wow.
And so even talking about it, I'm like, that's a lot of square footage and a lot of children at one time that could come. But we're really excited too.
That's great.
It's fun to kind of get a do-over and make changes.
Okay, good deal. So you'll have both locations?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
Very good.
So
Well, is there anything you'd like to share with us in closing?
go play. Be playful.
Be playful.
It's a major stress reducer. It's just being playful.
All right, well, it looks like our food is here. So that is all the conversations we have time for today. We're here at Soul Vegetarian, and we're about to partake of this great meal. Thank you. We'll see you next time on Conversations with Nicole.
now through September 20th.
Mention you saw Soul Vegetarian on Conversations with Nicole and receive 10% off lunch or dinner platter. Soul Vegetarian, located at 1205 South Adams Street in Tallahassee.
We'd like to thank our guests, Dr. Michelle Gamble of Sankofa Healing and Enrichment and Rachel Scharlepp of Playbig Therapy for their insights on total wellness. Join us next week at Madison Social for a discussion on the performing arts with Tyrone Brooks of the Tallahassee Ballet and Rasheen Jameson Richardson of Legacy School of Performing Arts Institute. I am Nicole Everett. We'll see you next time on Conversations with Nicole.
Welcome back to Conversations with Nicole. If you're just joining us, we're here at Soul Vegetarian and we're talking total wellness with my very special guest, Rachel Scharlepp with Big Play Therapy. Playbig Therapy. Here's your blooper, G. Okay, let me do that again.